What's up, everybody? Armchair Quarterbacks here for another Week 8 recap. On this one, we've got this host slaps versus Euron Mahomes Kid. That is Alex taking the victory here with 140.08 points over Michelle's 94 points. So taking a look at Alex's team here first, Alex did start Jared Goff, Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Sam Laporta, George Pickens, and Jahmyr Gibbs. For me here, the biggest takeaway was Jahmyr Gibbs. Watching the Monday night game with Detroit and the Vegas Raiders, this game was all Jahmyr Gibbs. You know, he had 26 rushing attempts for 152 yards, 1 touchdown, 5 targets, 5 receptions, and 37 yards. So this is what you love to see from Jahmyr Gibbs. This is really good for him going into the bye week because now the team can use this bye week to kind of say, hey, you know what? We've got this rookie. He's extremely good. And we can try to utilize him a little bit more. So I think the bye week is going to do him some good. It's going to give him a chance to rest up and give the team a little bit more opportunity to kind of adjust their offensive scheme and utilize him a little bit more in their game here. Now Tyreek Hill, this is about average for what he's been doing this year. 13 targets, 8 receptions, 112 yards for a touchdown. He's got pretty much a touchdown in each game that he's played so far this year. And you know what? I think he's pretty much a must start every week. So I don't think you're going to ever sit him unless he's injured. DK Metcalf, a little bit underwhelming performance here, just a little bit, but seeing the 14 targets, that's what you want to see from. He's supposedly the wide receiver 1, but I think Seattle, they're my home team. They're the team that I cheer for. But honestly, I think Seattle's kind of got a mishmash of not really wide receiver 1 specifically, but it's kind of like a high-end wide receiver 2, 3 of them, especially looking at this year, how DK Metcalf's been playing. I wouldn't necessarily be able to consider him. I wouldn't necessarily consider him a wide receiver 1. He's definitely got that in his forte. He can definitely hit wide receiver 1 numbers. Like if he were to hit this 15 points consistently, he's gonna be a low end to mid wide receiver 1. But seeing how he's kind of up and down, I think he's more of a high end wide receiver 2. And then the same thing with Tyler Lockett. He can go off any day. They also have, what's his name? Jake Bobo and JSN and Noah Fant. So they spread the ball around a lot, so any of their players can go off anytime. It's unfortunate that DK Metcalf, he's going to be inconsistent up and down, but he does have a pretty decent schedule coming up. He's still got some tough defenses to face, but depending on your matchups here, I think you're going to start him almost every week. Alvin Kamara, he's getting the running back 1 elite shares here. 17 rushing attempts for 59 yards and a touchdown, 5 targets for 4 receptions, 51 yards and a receiving touchdown. So seeing this here, I think you're loving it. You're not going to bench him unless he's got a tough defense and some kind of injury. But I don't even think you're going to bench him against tough defenses, actually. And seeing that Derek Carr does end up check downing to his running backs if the play breaks down, if his wide receivers are all covered, Alvin Kamara is going to be the safety valve there. Derrick Henry finally out scoring his projections again, 2 games in a row. 22 rushing attempts for 101 yards. All he needs is the touchdown deodorant here, and then you're going to love the game. Already, this is really good here. I'm seeing here tending to ankle issue. He's going to continue to play unless it's something really crazy. I don't think he's going to sit out. He's dealt with ankle issues pretty much almost every year, but this dude is a beast. So I think, moving forward, he's going to end up playing pretty decent for you. I think he's going to finally start getting it going, especially if the Titans stick with Will Levis. Derrick Henry actually might see some increased passing role, so that's going to be great. Let's see here. Oh, we have Sam Laporta going off again for 15 points. He had 10 targets. Again, this is a really good game. The Las Vegas Raiders really couldn't do anything against the Lions offense. Rushing and passing, the offense was really on point for the Lions, and the Raiders defense was just tired and they were on the field for too long. So they couldn't stop anything Detroit was throwing their way, throwing or rushing. So getting the bye week in week 9 is going to be good for Laporta. It's going to give him that mid-season rest, and then he's got a pretty decent schedule coming up afterwards. So taking a look at Alex's bench here, he had Marquise Brown for 12.3 points. It's going to be interesting to see moving forward how the Cardinals are going to handle their quarterback situation. Kyler Murray is supposed to return, but whether he plays in this game or not, in the next week's game or not, is to be seen. And then after that, I don't even remember who the next man up is, especially because the Cardinals, just before the trade deadline today, they traded Josh Dobbs away to the Vikings. So I think he's going to continue to ride your bench unless, he's got some immaculate game, and then the week after you might start him. All right, so let's look over here at Michelle's team. Michelle started this week Patrick Mahomes, Brandon Ayuk, Michael Thomas, DeAndre Swift, Najee Harris, Evan Engram, Drake London, and Taysom Hill. Patrick Mahomes was an unfortunate game here. He I don't know what it was. Denver was just playing really good up against Kansas City, and Patrick Mahomes couldn't get anything going. He had no touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So I think if we flip this around, 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, obviously he's going to have a higher point total. But the passing yards just weren't there for them. So I think this is just a fluke game, down week. I think next week, especially up against the high-powered offense, you're going to see Patrick Mahomes back into the game. He's always come back from whatever has deterred his game before, so he'll be fine. The other one here was Taysom Hill. That was a very interesting start. I don't know if I would have left him in there personally myself, but you ended up staying and leaving him, and you know what? He went off for you. 9 rushing attempts for 63 yards and 2 touchdowns. For a dude who's listed as a tight end, this guy really, I think it was like last year, 2 years ago, he was double listed quarterback tight end. So it was one of those things where you were lucky to get him and get the quarterback points or whatever. And, Taysom Hill, he's the gadget player for the New Orleans Saints. But seeing that he's continually involved in the last few weeks, I think that's really good for him, and I think you might be able to hold on to him, and depending on the matchup, you might be able to start him as well. Other than that, pretty much the rest of your starters, this is about average week. You had a couple guys overachieve their projections and underachieve their projections. But let's take a look here at your bench. I have been mentioning to you before, I believe I mentioned it in text messages with you and also in some of our previous videos. David Njoku, you should probably drop him. It's going to be one of those things where you might not want to hold on to him. He's not as involved. Well, you know what? The past couple of weeks, he's been pretty involved, and this week he finally got into the end zone. So if I don't know if you're going to continue to start him, just because his quarterback situation is still kind of hit or miss. You don't know if it's going to be Deshaun Watson or the backup quarterback. What's his name? PJ Walker, I think. So, it's going to be one of those things where you're playing that game. Who's his quarterback? Okay, how does the quarterback how much does the quarterback rely on David Njoku? And especially seeing the next 3 weeks, he's got some tough matchups. He might still ride your bench. But after that, if it's still PJ Walker, I think PJ Walker likes to target David Njoku, and they've got a pretty decent schedule going into the playoffs. I think you could start him later on, but again, it's going to be rough sledding, and you might have to wait on that. So, other than that, just a reminder: the trade deadline, the real NFL trade deadline was today, Tuesday, October 31st. I believe our league trade deadline is in 2 weeks. If I remember correctly, it's on Saturday, November 18. All right, so let's take a look here really quick. Let's look that up. Let's see. Yeah, I am pretty sure our trade deadline is November 18. Let's just verify. Here we go. Trade end date November 18. So make sure if you're gonna try and make some trades, make sure you try and get them in soon. You do have a couple weeks after the trade deadline to see how some other players kind of mesh with their new teams. But besides that, congrats on the win, Alex. Good luck and better luck next week to you both. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.